Day. As you know by now, President Obama won re-election over contender Mitt Romney to remain in office through 2016. What impact will Tuesday's election have on farm country? Here's how the numbers stack up. President Obama comes away with 303 Electoral College votes, while Mitt Romney pulls away with 206 electoral votes. That doesn't include Florida, which is still counting ballots, although it's leaning the president's way. A decisive win for the president overall, but in rural parts of America, county after county voted for the challenger rather than the incumbent. So what does that mean for voters who don't live in urban areas? I asked Chuck Connor, president of the National Council of Farmer Cooperatives and a member of Mitt Romney's Agriculture Advisory Committee. Does rural America matter anymore in the presidential race?
Well, I think it still does. Clinton, there's no question that rural America and what I would call agricultural districts out there in America today play a very, very important role in our legislative body in the presidential election. These states, Iowa being a pretty good example, Wisconsin, another one, Minnesota. These are big agricultural states, obviously. Enormous amount of presidential campaign resources poured into those states because these are swing states.
Democrats retained control of the Senate and Republicans kept their House majority. Focusing on the ag sector now, Senate Ag Committee Chair Debbie Stabenow will return for another 6-year term. The Michigan Democrat won with about 58% of the vote, 19 points ahead of her closest rival. Oklahoma Congressman Frank Lucas, who chairs the House Ag Committee, will remain in office for another 2 years. He garnered at least 3/4 of his district's vote. Also on the House Ag Committee, Iowa Congressman Steve King will head back to Washington for a 6th term. He represents Iowa's 4th district. King received about 55% of the vote. He defeated Democrat Kristi Vilsack, who's the wife of Ag Secretary Tom Vilsack. When Congress returns to work next Tuesday, some of the attention will focus on the unfinished farm bill. As the measure stands right now, there are great divides between the Senate version, which is controlled by Democrats, and the House version, controlled by Republicans. One of the biggest sticking points is how much to cut from the food stamp program. Ag Day talked with Roger Bernard, who is a Washington policy analyst for Inform Economics. Bernard said there is a chance that a farm bill could be finished in a lame duck session, but those odds are remote.
There's probably going to have to be an extension of the 2008 Farm Bill of some kind, just because there's going to be some delay in being able to get the new bill implemented, et cetera, like that. So there's probably going to have to be an extension almost regardless of where we're looking at. Now, when you look down the road a little ways, yeah, there was not a lot of change. The Senate Agriculture Committee is going to look very similar. There will be 3 new faces because of lawmakers actually leaving. None of them were defeated in the re-election bid on Tuesday. On the House side, there were some defeats, but not near as many, so we're not going to have the big turnover in that panel as we saw in 2010 with some 20 new members that Chairman Frank Lucas had to work with.
Bernard says with a few changes to both committees, we won't likely see any significant changes to the House and Senate versions of the bill as they've already been presented. 3 state ballot initiatives of particular interest to agriculture have all been defeated. California voters rejected a proposition that would require labels on foods that contain genetically modified ingredients. No voters reached 53%. Those in support was 47%. In North Dakota, voters handily rejected a measure Tuesday that would have created a felony penalty for malicious cruelty to a dog, cat, or horse. The measure was being defeated by 67 to 33%. Opponents of the measure say it was an attempt to animal rights groups to go after livestock producers. And in Arizona, voters chose 2-1 to leave control of federal land in the hands of D.C. Proposition 120 asked whether millions of acres of federal land, including the Grand Canyon, should officially become the property of Arizona residents. In Arizona, federal land makes up about 40% of the state. Voters voted against Prop 120, leaving the current system in place.